Welcome back to another thrilling episode of our podcast. It feels like just yesterday we embarked on this incredible journey together, and today promises to be no less exciting, I can promise you. In this highly anticipated installment, we're diving into a topic that has been buzzing in the air: the Rivers political and legal matters at the Supreme Court. A saga we've aptly titled The Supreme Court Decides. Get ready for an enlightening experience as we bring you insider insights and updates that you won't find anywhere else. Rest assured, everything you hear today is as authentic as the court's ruling itself. As we explore this riveting case, this compelling case, this engrossing case, it's important to note that there are 5 appeals currently on the table of the Supreme Court justices, with one already resolved this morning. Stay tuned, don't go away, because coming up next, I'll be sharing the latest updates that you won't want to miss at all. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in. I'll be right back with all the details. But before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, invite your friends and folks by sharing the link, and also take time to drop your comments as a way of feedback. I'll be right back. So we are back here now to give you all the updates you want to know. Now, like I said, there are 5 cases at the Supreme Court for appeal to be heard by the Supreme Court justices. Even before we started the podcast, we already got the update on one of the appeals, the decision of the court. But before then, let me give you a little background to this matter. There were cases that were filed at the High Court, and particularly by the Martin Amehule-led Rivers State House of Assembly before Justice Kayode Omotosho at the Federal High Court. And on January 23rd, 2024, Justice Omotosho gave a judgment with several orders. One of the orders includes that the National Assembly cannot take over, the responsibility of the State Assembly. It also went ahead to validate the authenticity of Martin Amehule as the Speaker of the State Assembly, and then alongside 27 others as members. It also ruled in that judgment that the governor does not have a budget, because he had presented the budget to Edison Ehe, who then claimed he was the Speaker to a 4-man assembly. And then, of course, the court also ruled that the governor ought to go back and present the budget to the assembly under Martin Amehule. And again, there were also the issues of who is the authentic clerk and the deputy clerk. And then, of course, Omotosho gave judgment in favor of the Amehule group that the clerk and the deputy clerk remain and should not be disturbed from performing their duties and all that. Well, that judgment didn't go very well with the governor and his group. So what did they do? They waited after a while. They went to court, even though in between there were other cases filed at the State High Court, like the one that appeared before Justice Wali, where Oko Jumbo, who showed up as the Speaker of a 3-man assembly. And he got the judgment at that Rivers State High Court of Justice Wali, but unfortunately for him, the Court of Appeal overruled the State High Court. Rather, it upheld the judgment of Justice Kayode Omotosho on the issue of who the authentic speaker is. So, well, the governor and his men again, having gotten the judgment from the Court of Appeal, upholding Justice Kayode Omotosho's judgment, they decided to appeal against it at the Supreme Court. But there was so much delay. Of course, you know the window, I think 90 days, 90 days or 180 days, I can't remember, for a matter to be heard after it's been filed at the Supreme Court. So today, February 10, the court is sitting and is doing justice to the matter. And of course, the governor filed an appeal against that judgment of Omotosho, which was upheld by the Court of Appeal. But today, something dramatic happened. I'm going to take you through. I just want to give you a little background to the issues. That's not the only matter before the court. Remember that the chairman of APC in Rivers State, Chief Sir Tony Okocha, had also gone to the Federal High Court asking the court not to conduct the local government elections based on certain reasons which he gave. Well, he got a judgment which said the police and the DSS and then the rest of them should not participate in that election. But of course, the governor defied that ruling and went ahead and using the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission conducted the election. And then, of course, we saw how it went. The APP chairman, I think about out of 23 seats, the APP cleared 22. Many allege that the APP is like a surrogate party of the governor because of the issues he's having with the leadership of PDP in the state and at the national. Anyway, Tony Okocha's matter came up at the Court of Appeal when these issues were consolidated in an appeal panel. The panel said, well, that the judge, Justice Abdul Malik, Joim Abdul Malik, didn't have the jurisdiction to entertain the matter, that because of that, the matter was struck out. So, but Tony, not relenting, the APC under him supported him, and he went to the Supreme Court. So it's one of the matters that the Supreme Court has even looked into this morning, but I'll give you updates on what actually transpired as regards that matter. And there were other issues too that had to do with stopping the allocation of Rivers State. The Martin Amehule-led assembly had also gone to court and gotten a judgment from the Federal High Court asking the CBN and the Ministry of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation, amongst others, not to release funds to the Rivers State governors, being that he had defied the court's order of Justice Omotosho, which claimed that he does not have any budget. He cannot be spending money of the public money without appropriation, and that constitutes a grave offense, you know. So when he got that judgment, of course, that didn't go down well again with the governor and his group. So what did they do? They also filed an appeal, and then the appeal court, in its wisdom, ruled that Amehule, who is the speaker, of course, they didn't dispute that. The only thing they said is that he has a right to call for the stoppage of the allocation, but not to file the matter at the Federal High Court. That the Federal High Court lacks jurisdiction. It ought to have been the State High Court, being that the money belongs to Rivers State. But Amehule and his group argue that the suit was against the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, which is domiciled at Abuja as a headquarters. And then it's also filed against the Accountant General, who is also in Abuja, filed against the other police and the rest of them, and of course they have their headquarters in Abuja. So to them, the Federal High Court was the right place to go. But that's one of the cases the Supreme Court is also going to look into today to see if Amehule and co were right. Well, if the matter is struck out, that means they still have the opportunity of going back to the Rivers State House of Assembly, Rivers State High Court, to file that suit again and start the process. But if the matter is dismissed, well, that's the end of the road for that issue, which means they cannot stop the allocation of the state. But that is not to say that the governor is right to appropriate without a budget, as ruled by Omotosho and the Court of Appeal. These are many more what we're going to be seeing today as the judgments come, as the orders and the rulings of the court come today. We'll give you updates, and that's why we're here today. Please don't go away as I take you through a roller coaster ride on decisions taken by the Supreme Court so far. Thank you. Yeah, so the Supreme Court this morning, Monday, February 10, 2025, has already decided on the appeal filed by the Rivers State governor and the Rivers State government, and then a cross appeal filed by the Rivers State House of Assembly and then Martin Chike Amehule and 26 others. That suit is suit number SC CV 1071-2024. That's the appeal number. Now, the information we have is that this morning, council to the Rivers State Governor and the Rivers State government withdrew the appeal. They withdrew their own motion. And what it means is that the appeal from the judgment of Honorable Justice J.K. Omotosho in suit number FHC ABJ 1613-2023, wherein the court ruled that Governor Fubara should represent the 2024 budget to the House of Assembly led by Right Honorable Martins Amehule, stands. By the withdrawal of their appeal by the governor's team, Governor Fubara is bound by the judgment of Honorable Justice J.K. Omotosho of the Federal High Court and the judgment of the Court of Appeal, also ordering the governor to present the 2024 budget before the Right Honorable Martins Amehule Assembly. But let me tell you something. The governor's team claimed that they withdrew the matter on grounds that it's been overtaken by events. What they are talking about is the budget of 2024, saying that it's been overtaken by events. But let's look at that judgment of Justice Omotosho, which was upheld by the Court of Appeal, and which is the main contention. That is the basis for the appeal and the cross appeal that the Supreme Court looked at today. Because the issue, the orders made by Omotosho does not only talk about the issue of the budget, which the governor's team says has been overtaken by events, because we are now in 2025 and another budget has been presented. So let's look at it. The implications of, first, we're going to look at what Omotosho ruled. First, the issue had to do, the suit filed by Amehule and Co. Before Omotosho in 2023 had to do with the takeover of the Rivers State House of Assembly, its legislative duties and responsibilities. Of course, they filed that suit alongside other prayers which they made, and Justice Omotosho clearly stated that the National Assembly had no right to take over the functions of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Reason being that, in spite of the fact that the assembly, part of the assembly was bombed, denying the lawmakers a sitting place, they were still sitting and performing their legislative duties, which is what the law states. So that's, in his wisdom, Justice Omotosho ruled in favor of Amehule and Co. that the National Assembly has no such powers. In that same judgment, Justice Omotosho also gave backing to the leadership of the Assembly under Martin Amehule. The issue of defection came in when then Right Honorable Edison Ehe, who said he was now the new speaker and had declared the seats of Martin Amehule and others vacant because they had defected, in his words. Well, along the line while the case was still on, Edison Ehe resigned his membership of the Rivers State Assembly and also withdrew the processes he filed. The governor also withdrew his processes, which means that we go back to the claims of Martin Amehule and Co. And these were the issues. So on that issue, the court ruled that Martin Amehule, in fact, his speakership, his leadership of the House is not even in question. So that was one of the orders of Justice Omotosho, which the Supreme Court was looking at today. Again, the court also said the clerk and his deputy remain. They ought not to have been redeployed by the governor, as we saw then. Also, the court also said that the governor had operated without a budget, because the budget he presented before a 4-man assembly out of a 32-man assembly led under Edison Ehe was null and void. The court also, in its wisdom, said the governor ought to go back and present the budget to the assembly under Martin Amehule. Well, we didn't see that happen, even though we expected the governor to have done that based on the court judgment and the 8-point resolution which they signed at the Aso Rock, supervised by the presidents, Dr. Peter Odili and Barrister Nyeso Wike and Martin Amehule and the rest of other key players in that meeting. We also know that the court also said Edison Ehe was never a speaker in the eyes of the law. He never existed. which means that whatever Edison had done, which includes declaring the seats of the lawmakers vacant as a result of the purported defection, was also null and void. But of course, Edison could not appeal that judgment because he had already withdrawn from the matter and ceased to be a member of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Well, the governor and his team continued. They decided to appeal against the judgment. Well, but it took like a period of about is it 6 months or more before we saw the emergence of Jumbo, who says he is now the speaker, being that Edison had resigned, was no longer member of the assembly, was no longer speaker. So remaining the three of them, and so the three, or amongst the three of them, he is now the speaker. Well, that was the reason why he went to Justice Wali of the Rivers State High Court, and Justice Wali affirmed his leadership. But again, that met a very brick wall as the Court of Appeal invalidated the judgment of Justice Wali on grounds that Justice Wali had no jurisdiction on the issue of defection, because according to the Constitution, it's only the Federal High Court that can entertain that matter, of which the Federal High Court under Omotosho had already done so. So it was like an abuse of court processes. It's going to file the matter at the Rivers State High Court. So the Court of Appeal upheld the judgment of Justice Omotosho on that, and amongst other orders made by Justice Omotosho. So we are going to look at the issue. Now, the governor has withdrawn, and then as it stands now, the only judgment that is valid, one, the Federal High Court judgment of Omotosho; two, that the appeal by the court of, the appeal judgment by the Court of Appeal. So when a judgment, according to the law, a party in a suit withdraws a matter, what it means is that it goes back to the original issue. I'll get that for you. I'm going to cite the case when I get to that point. So for now, the court has awarded a cost of 2 million against the governor of Rivers State. The appeal has been dismissed. Listen, dismissed, not struck out. It means he cannot even represent that matter again before any court. And then, of course, if the council decided to withdraw the matter, he knew the implications. But let me also tell you something. Some persons are already in the social media saying that because the matter was withdrawn on grounds that it's been overtaken by events, that what it means is that there's nothing to it. No. When there's a valid court judgment, it's only a higher court that can invalidate or validate it. Now, the Supreme Court didn't have the opportunity to hear the matter again because the man who appealed withdrew the appeal. So in that case, the judgment of the High Court and the Court of Appeal stand. And of course, when that stands, when those two stand, what it means is that the governor is bound by those two judgments and he has to obey. Well, let's see how that goes, because according to them, the 2025 budget has already been presented to not even a 4-man assembly, but a 3-man assembly led by Victor Jumbo. Now, with the judgment of the, what happened in the Supreme Court today, we'll see the implications of all that. That's the next segment we're going to look at. Please don't go away. But while you are waiting, don't forget to call in your friends and family. Call everyone, ask them to subscribe, because they are going to be getting unadulterated information on this lingering matter on our channel. Thank you. I'm here again to continue with my updates. Well, I told you something about the withdrawal of the matter at the Supreme Court. You know, it was also a similar thing that happened at the lower court before Justice Omotosho, when Edison withdrew the processes, and then the governor equally withdrew his after the Abuja Accord that never stood. Yeah, so, and then when the judgment didn't go in favor of the governor, they also decided to go to the appeal court, and the appeal court said, no, you cannot come here after you have withdrawn your processes at the High Court. You cannot seek to apply again. It doesn't work like that. It's against the law. And of course, in that judgment, they cited several cases. I just want to take one because I'm not a lawyer, but at least I understand what they're doing. It says in Iyoho versus Effiong, 2007, part 1044, page 55, it was held, a decision of court not appealed against is deemed accepted by the party against whom the decision was entered and is therefore binding. So, for those who are arguing, well, we are still waiting for the Supreme Court to finish what it's do its business. But I can tell you for now that this thing stands. At the moment you do not appeal against a decision of a court, the moment you withdraw your processes and that the judgment is entered, it is binding on you. So now that the governor has withdrawn his own processes today, it means that the judgment of the court that made him to even seek to appeal is binding on him. So binding means that he has to go back to the orders of Justice Kayode Omotosho. Now let's look at the implications of this action by the governor. It's not just about the 2 million. Of course, when a cost is awarded against an appellant or a plaintiff, you know what that means. It means that the judgment did not favor him. You don't need rocket science to be told. You know, I see some persons, because they belong to some WhatsApp groups, and then anybody drops anything for them, they take it hook, line, and sinker without even asking fundamental questions or even using their own experience or common sense to know the truth. Well, let's look at what this decision today actually implies for the governor and the Rivers State government. First, it means that the National Assembly at no point can take over the lead. Of course, we passed that. That's actually the one that's been overtaken by events. You know, they said it's been overtaken by events, but that's not what the Supreme Court has said. The argument went on, and then, of course, the lawyers to the governor wanted the matter to be struck out so that they can have the opportunity to file the matter again. But the lawyers to Amehule and Co. said no, the matter should be dismissed and cost awarded. In fact, they were specific, and then the court, in this wisdom, awarded the cost of 2 million naira. So let's look at again that issue of it's been overtaken by events. What was taken over by events? The judgment of Kayode Omotosho. No, you may say that the judgment, that had to do with the presentation of the budget to Ameli, the order. That's probably what they are saying is been overtaken by events. You cannot say the judgment of a valid court, a court of competent jurisdiction, upheld by a competent court of appeal panel, is been taken over by events. It's only the Supreme Court that has such powers, and in this case the Supreme Court has not said so. So let's look at the implications. Don't forget, Justice Kayode Omotosho, his judgment upheld that Amehule remains the speaker alongside his colleagues, 26 other members, and then of course, that means that the assembly properly constituted by these people. Now, in that same judgment, remember that in the course of the trial, Amehule and Co. also stated that their colleagues, 4 of them, were suspended. Even though some say that they had no powers to do so. Well, it was not contested in any court, and they were not recalled. But let's assume, without conceding, that they were still members of the assembly. 4 of them, that's Edison Ehe, Victor Kojombo, and one Somiari, Honorable Somiari, and the other one I can't really remember his name right now. Okay, yes, Okojombo I've mentioned, and at 4 of them. Assuming they are still members of the assembly at the time these things took effect, they have been absent, according to Amehule and Co., for more than, I think, is it 180 or 108 legislative sittings. And by the rules of the assembly, once you are absent, you will automatically lose your seat. And that was the reason why the assembly recently declared their seats vacant and called on INEC to conduct elections into those seats. That's actually very complicated. Well, as we also looking into that, what the judgment, what the actions of the legal team of SIM today did, and what the Supreme Court also in its wisdom decided to do, also means that whatever resolutions passed by Amewule and the 26 lawmakers remain valid within that period. So you can imagine, you know the resolutions. I don't want to take you all through that, but if you insist in the comment section, if you drop it, I'll come back and let you know what those resolutions were. It means that also every resolution made by Edison or Okojombo are null and void because they never existed. They did not get a judgment invalidating what Justice Kayode Omotosho said. So what were these resolutions? The passage of the 2024 budget, the screening of commissioners and other appointees. And so all those have been invalidated by the Supreme Court today, invariably. And then although we still wait until the wrap up of all the cases, and then the court will make a final pronouncement. But you don't need a prophet to tell you that this is the position. And of course, another implication of today's decision of the Supreme Court is that the Rivers State governor has operated without a budget in 2024. Of course, what it means is that he had been appropriating funds without an appropriation bill. So what does that imply? Well, the consequences will probably discuss that when we have our guest in the studio, who is a legal luminary and has been following up this matter. So you don't have to go away, because that's going to give you more insight into what's actually going on. Then another implication of today's judgment is that the clerk and deputy clerk who were redeployed by the governor also remain as the authentic officers of the assembly. So, well, some persons may disagree with us, but that is just the position of the law. As we go on, continue to follow up the matters, we'll see how the Supreme Court will wrap up this issue. And then, of course, there's a second, while we're still here on, we understand that the issue of local government elections, which was a case instituted by Tony Okocha of the APC chairman, Rivers State chairman of APC, that the court has reserved judgment on that matter and one other matter, because I'm still going to get back to my reporters and then who are in court to give you fresh updates. So please, while you are still waiting for more, don't forget to do the needful, because you're going to help us to make this viral. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button, like our page, comment, and even share. You are free to share to anybody and everybody, so that people can also give their opinions. We don't want a situation when judgment is given and it favors either side. The other side will say, oh, that the courts were bought. We're tired of hearing that blackmail. I think that after the Supreme Court, well, the next other court will be on Judgment Day, and Judgment Day may be far for now. Thank you, and don't go away. So, as we conclude today's segment, I just want to give you a summary of all that happened today at the Supreme Court, the matters that were listed, all the appeals listed for hearing have been adjourned. I think the court will give a date for ruling or judgment on the matters. But basically, we have the issue of Omotosho's judgment, which the court had given its judgment earlier. The Court of Appeal had upheld, the judgment of the Federal High Court, of course. And then the Supreme Court today, as the governor withdrew his processes, means that they agree with the judgment of the Court of Appeal. Well, we wait to hear what the Supreme Court will say regarding all that, because all the cases seem to be interwoven. Apart from the case that has to do with local government elections, which was filed by, the appeal was entered by the chairman of APC, Chief Tony Okocha. That also has been reserved for judgment. We also know that the issue of allocation, Martins Amehule and co. also filed an appeal against the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which set aside that the judgment of the Federal High Court, led by Justice Joy Abdul Malik, that had said that they had the right, to sue, and then also gave them judgment that the allocations should be withheld. Well, there was reprieve for the Rivers State governor as the Court of Appeal upturned that decision of the High Court, and then, of course, they also had access to allocation and then revenue. Then we are also going to hear the Supreme Court decide on that matter, whether the Court of Appeal was right in saying that the High Court lacked jurisdiction, that it ought to have been, the Federal High Court lacked jurisdiction, that it ought to have been the State High Court. Well, the court didn't also say that Martin Amehule and co. didn't have the right to sue, which is, for me, another validation of his speakership and membership of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And then, of course, many people are waiting for the big one. Did they defect or not? Well, there's really no case on defection per se, but it's contained in the judgment of the Federal High Court, of Omotosho, where it was established that Martin is the speaker and the 26 others are members. Well, as people keep their fingers crossed, we hope that the judiciary correspondents will give us. Some of the TV stations are already giving us highlights from the court, like on channels, it says Supreme Court dismisses Fubara's appeal over the Rivers State House of Assembly leadership. So I'll keep you informed. Hopefully, when our guest comes in our next episode, he will do more justice to the issue. For now, thank you. Keep sharing. Hit the subscribe button, comment, and also like. God bless you.